Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 11 of the anime series Shokugeki no Soma, Nino Sara, or the Second Plate, and I thoroughly loved this episode. I'm not somebody who's that big of a fan of Hisako, and this episode really drew her character out for me and really got me attracted to her character and what she was going through internally, mulling over her failures and being very much the sort of polar opposite of Soma in how he approaches his losses and everything. We see at the start of the episode, he's still very much hanging out with Akira and Ryo, and they're still very much challenging each other's capabilities and trying to outmatch each other. And you have Ryo talking about how he could do the rap better than Soma and all this kind of stuff. And I just love that. A callback to a dish we've seen them create before, as well as just being up against each other and really trying to evolve themselves against each other. And now we have the very first stage in the stagiaire where they're basically going out into actual functioning restaurants and being put to the test in different various ways. One of them is to be able to go in and leave a mark on the establishment, try to fix a problem that is currently existing within that establishment, while also leaving something indelible to who you are behind. And it's a well-stacked challenge, and I thought it was absolutely pitch perfect that you had Hisako and, Soma being teamed up together. We also find out subsequently Arina and Megumi have been teamed up together, which in itself is also kind of funny because we have two polar opposite sort of levels of confidence there. I guess in both equations, really, but Arina, being the god tongue, is just commanding and domineering, even to the owner of the establishment, trying to order him around and tell him the way it's supposed to be, according to how she thinks of it and all this kind of stuff. And you have Megumi, who's very much timid and seemingly a pushover, and she really doesn't feel like she has anything to bring to the table. And it's kind of similar in the dynamic going on between these two pairs. With Hisako, she's very much mulling over her losses, as I say, and feeling like she's not good enough to even be friends with Arina, let alone somebody who wants to be able to stand toe-to-toe with her, and that hasn't even entered her frame of mind. Soma has to put that into her head, like, stop thinking about trying to walk behind Arina, try to do something that gets you on level with her, that gets you walking in stride. And he himself has been conflicted about where his focuses should lie. He's very much still, Yukihira Soma. He's very much about the Yukihira restaurant and being somebody who can, stand toe-to-toe with his dad, and he wants to look broader than that by the end of this episode. He really comes to that revelation that all this time his sights have been set on just matching his dad and maybe one-upping him, but that's not enough. That's not nearly enough for what they need if they want this to be something that goes beyond Totsuki Academy. And seeing them go into this restaurant and realize, we came in and we made this place a well-oiled machine, but as soon as we leave, the flavor of the food, the quality of the dishes, it's just going to go back to what it was. And with the lunch rush and the bullet train passengers coming in hour after hour and everything like that, it's just madcap. It's mayhem. And Soma knows it's a ticking time bomb. And you have this woman from Totsuki in a couple of scenes, like, hiding behind a telephone pole or something like that, spying on them to see what they can bring to the table. I was like, who the hell is this? But we find out toward the end. And it's interesting to me that Soma, he's already figured this out. But Hisako, because she's still so self-consumed with this lack of pride, even though she's doing well, she needs to kind of have, the other restaurateurs, the other, servers and things like that, and cooks and whatever, tell her, no, when we're complimenting you, we're talking about the collective you. We're talking about both you and Soma. Both you and Soma have come in here and done such wondrous things. And she, she's trying to stay 3 steps ahead of the game by keeping the place running well. But when she starts mulling over Soma's, he doesn't even come out and fully say it. He wants her to really propel herself and come to the reflection herself. that if they leave, it's a ticking time bomb. Everything will just kaputs all over again and be right back to where it was when they first entered the fray, and they will have left no mark. They will have left no impression of change on this establishment. And so I love that she immediately calls that emergency meeting like crazy, and they're talking it out and really hashing it out. And all the while, this is coinciding with Arina's, coming up with different kinds of flavor mixtures for different kinds of plates, and Megumi still very much feeling like she doesn't have anything she can equate that can make some change or make a difference or leave a mark. And then, because she's been dishwashing the entire time, she's observant, and she's taking into account that there's too much sauce left on this plate and there's still some vegetables on that plate. Maybe if the consumers, the customers, had more control over the sauce that they could use on their respective dishes, maybe it would be something they would enjoy that much more. And of course, Arina, the boss guy doesn't even want to hear it. He's already had it up to here with Arina bossing him around and making all these suggestions, akin to orders. But Arina, surprisingly to me, wanted to hear Megumi out and really champions what Megumi has been capable of. And this is the kind of praise she needs, and she seems to need it time and time and time again. But this is a person from which she needs to hear this, even though I don't know if it's sunk in that well by the time things are said and done. But Megumi had the right idea, and Arina agreed with it. And on the same token, you basically have Soma suggesting to the restaurant owner, that they're basically stuck with, look, you really need to reconsider how you're going to keep this restaurant formatted. You should make it reservations only instead of having people just wandering off the street, come havoc and high storm, and again, we see that parallel between the two pairs where they're both in agreement. Both members of each pair is in agreement with each other, and they've come together. They've aligned in their minds and realized what is important in this first stagiaire challenge. And I loved it. I loved toward the end even more, putting just a well-balanced cap and a smile on my face on the entire event. Soma has those manga volumes that Arina requested some time ago now. And in knowing that, Hisako's never going to sort of woman up on her own right as far as going and approaching Arina again, and they're both missing each other. We see reflective flashbacks to even going all the way back to their childhood, where Arina just wanted a friend, somebody that she could hug and have fun with and play with. And she really, they both really loved the relationship they had with each other, even though it was a little too, mistress and servant-y for my taste. There was a bond between them, though. You can't deny that by the end of this episode. And Soma appreciates that and understands that just as much as his own self-reflection has led him to believe, he's got to look beyond just challenging and beating his father. He's got to look at a more worldly sort of outlook at all the restaurants in the world, all the kinds of food preparation in the world. He's got to look beyond the Yukihira stamp before eventually returning to it and being just a master at his craft with that much more under his belt and his horizons that much more widened. And, he has that for Hisako. He basically points her in the direction of Arina, and she's grateful for it. And when she smiles at him, it's like, here are two people who really, they didn't get along. They didn't like each other. At least on Hisako's part, she really didn't like Soma. Soma could care less. I mean, most of the time when she's talking down about herself and everything, he's yawning and he was just oblivious. He's like, just get over it. Come on. Because he doesn't have that crutch, as was displayed in the previous episode by Dojima and by his own father and all that kind of stuff in the discussion about what kind of a person Soma is. And I loved it. I loved that he directed her toward Arina, much as he directed himself towards something bigger and grander. And this was just part one of the stagiaire. I can't wait to see what the next step is going to be. If they're still going to be the same teams, or if they're going to mix and match characters or not. If we're going to focus on any other characters than Megumi, Arina, Hisako and Soma respectively. We have 2 episodes left, and I'm chomping at the bit, not for the series to end, not for the season to end, but just to see how this all, rounds out in the end. So, love to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you've seen episode 11 of Shokugeki no Soma ni no Sara, if you enjoyed it as much as I did, if not, why not? Let me know in the comments below. Love it or hate it, anything goes. Just love having that conversation. And so, yeah, otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.